Okay, guys, you've got McGann here, your friendly neighborhood fangirl, and a spoiler warning for the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I want to talk about the celestial being Ego and his plan for the universe called the Expansion. If you haven't seen both films yet, this theory is going to make no sense. You know what stuck out to me really oddly about the Guardians of the Galaxy? That the vast majority of aliens we see are bipedal and humanoid. And you know what bugged me to death in Volume 2 of Guardians? That Ego claims that he just created what he imagined biological life would look like. How would you be able to guess that correctly out of the blue? I mean, this is coming from a celestial brain that formed a planet for itself and later a body. What would it know about alien biology? I'm willing to accept that the way Ego came about his human-like form was a total lie. Although, if he was going to be a liar, I can't figure out why Ego didn't lie about killing Quill's mother. He wasn't even asked about it. Ego just volunteered that information and messed his whole plan up. Well, I can't explain that part, but I do think Ego misled us several times when talking about the expansion. To summarize the expansion plan, Ego had gone from planet to planet all over the galaxy, planting these little flower-like pods with his DNA everywhere he went. The goal of that was to spread Ego as a supreme being across the universe, making every planet an extension of Ego's godliness. And maybe I'm overthinking it. I mean, of course I'm overthinking it. That's my job here. But something felt off to me about Ego's plan, and I think that has a connection back to Nowhere. And that's Nowhere with a K, as in all-knowing of where you are. The first volume of Guardians of the Galaxy clearly knew where Volume 2 was headed, as there are multiple hints throughout the film about plot points yet to come. And for those of you who don't recall, Nowhere was a planet that the Guardians visited, and it's uniquely identified as existing at the edge of the universe, inside of the decapitated head of a celestial being. Yeah, that's right. Imagine if aphids found your head and turned it into their home. That's basically how Nowhere works. Oddly, Ego, a fellow celestial being, says that he lives just outside of the universe, and he repeatedly states that he's the only one of his kind that he's ever found. That's a blatant lie, because according to the comics, every celestial is connected via quanta telepathy, so they all know everything about one another regardless of space or time. So Ego was well aware that he wasn't alone, and that's where pieces started clicking into place. I theorize that the expansion is a stolen plan that was already executed, just in a slightly different way. I believe that most life forms in the galaxy came from a single parent, a celestial being who generated a form that he found pleasing and went around from planet to planet populating the terrains with people created in his image. Geographic barriers and selective breeding caused this single race to develop different appearances and adaptations, making them different species. But that's why most creatures in the galaxy have a human-esque shape, because they all came from one master being who looked something like us. I'm not crazy here, I swear. Both Guardian movies actually support this idea. In the first Guardians of the Galaxy, we get a weird scene towards the end of the film with Roman Day walking into his house and greeting his red alien wife and hybrid daughter. It's kind of a pointless scene, unless there's a greater meaning behind it to say that two different species can reproduce together, meaning we have to have a lot of genetic similarities. I mean, the DNA between an African elephant and an Asian elephant are so different that they can't even produce children, so imagine trying to do this on the scale of people. So there has to be a lot of genetic similarities to make reproduction between Roman Day and his alien wife work. In Guardians Volume 2, the Sovereign Aisha and Quill have this sexualized verbal exchange where Quill is invited to someday teach her about reproduction in the archaic way of our ancestors. She says "our," as if this race of people out in the middle of space is definitively related to humans from Earth. Then of course there's the argument that Ego is able to reproduce with countless humanoid creatures on tons of different planets, and even though Ego is a god, his genetic material has to come from somewhere to make children, otherwise biology isn't gonna work. And a god shouldn't be able to mate with a human any more more than a lion could mate with an ant, which means that we aren't looking at different species here as much as different breeds of the same species. If that were the case, then reproduction between gods and other mortal beings would be more like a Saint Bernard mating with a corgi. They're both canines, so even though their sizes are way different, they could still theoretically have viable children. I'm sure there's some Corgnards out there somewhere. So there you have it. Most of the life we see in Guardians of the Galaxy has spawned from a single celestial being, and thanks to quantum telepathy, Ego knew this creator and his plan, which included what every being on every planet looked like, making it easy for Ego to choose and manipulate his forms. However, if this creator somehow met his end and became the planet of nowhere, that would leave his work, his territory, his expansion vulnerable to be challenged. What do you do if you want to play Canis Mas Macho as a god? Well, you go find the purpose of another celestial being and you find a way to undermine or undo that other celestial's work. Kind of like a dog peeing over another dog's urine to show dominance. But in this case, since the other god's legacy was creating life, the way to erase that is to take over all of the planets that those beings live on. From what we see of Ego's expansion, it was set to kill all life on every other world, which would have erased all of the other celestials' work and made Ego the new top dog of creation. That's right, the entire plot of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 revolved around a whizzing contest between celestial beings. Yeah, I might be overthinking it, but that's literally my job. Well, that's all I have for now, but this video's not quite over yet. I get a lot of comments that say, do a theory on this topic, but I've already done those theories. So please consider going to my main channel page and clicking on the video tab so that way you can see everything I've done. You will probably find a lot of things you like that you never even knew that I posted. I want to let you know that I also have two other channels, Say Halo Goodbye Gaming and the Fanily Family Vlogs. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed enough to hit subscribe and share. I can use all the help I can get to let other people know that this channel exists. And if you made it this far, leave me a comment that says something like, hey, I made it to the end, and then let me know what kind of videos you want to see in the future. I can't make any promises, but the more people that request something, the more I can look into it. Okay, well, I love you. I'll see you in the next video.